Hello and welcome back to my channel. I know it has been quite a while since I've been on here, but I'm finally ready to dive back into YouTube. I put it off for way too long. It's been intimidating me, but here we are. We're going to dive back in with my March TBR hopefuls. I have a huge stack of books here that I'm hoping to read through this month. At the very end of this month, I'm headed to LA for Shelves in the City with HarperCollins. So I've made this TBR almost exclusively HarperCollins. So this is going to be William Morrow, Avon Books, Harper Voyager, and Epic Reads books almost entirely, with just a few exceptions sprinkled in. All right, so without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, starting out strong with fantasy, we have Lore of the Wilds, which is a book that's been on my TBR for way too long. I had a part of this book kind of spoiled for me a little bit in my Discord accidentally, so I put off reading this for a while, but I'm going to be lucky enough to meet this author very soon, so I want to read it finally. And I know the second book, I think it's called Lore of the Tides, is coming out in I think June or July, so I want to get this one read so that I can read that next one, and it sounds like it's going to be really good. It's a romantasy with an enchanted library, and I'm sold. Next up, I have Shatter Me on my TBR. Finally, I've had this on my TBR for actual years. I am probably the last person alive to read this book. I've been very intimidated because I think there's 11 books in this series, but finally ready to dive in. Next up is A Study in Drowning. I met Ava Reed last year at Shelves in the City with HarperCollins, and she was so sweet, so I've been meaning to read this for a while, so hopefully gonna finally make that happen this month. Next up is Inkblood Sister Scribe. I think this is a romantasy as well, but I'm not positive. I got this just from Book of the Month, just based off of the cover, knowing nothing about this book, so it'll be a complete surprise for me. Then we have House of Blight, which is an ARC. This one doesn't come out until April, but I've heard really good things from the people who've read this already. The hook on this one says Adira Brilwin has a secret. Withholding her magic will save her life. Using her magic could save the world. The next one is Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. This is another series I've been very intimidated to start, but I'm hopefully going to start it at least this month. I probably won't read past this first book, but I just want to dip my toes in and see if I like it. Then we have a series by an author I already know I like. So Rebecca Ross, she's the author of the Letters of Enchantment series, and I really liked both of those books, so I'm going to read this other duology that she has. So we have A River Enchanted and A Fire Endless. I know that this one isn't as popular as her other series, so I'm excited to give this lesser known series a try. The next two are both R.F. Kuang. So we have Babel by her, as well as The Poppy War. I've heard amazing things about all of her fantasy books. The only book I've read of hers so far is Yellowface, and I thought that was spectacular, so I can't wait to dive into her other list of books. Specifically Poppy War, I feel like I'm most excited for. I have had so many people recommend this to me over and over, and it's so beyond time for me to read it. And then lastly for fantasy, we have The Hurricane War, which is another romantasy book, I believe. Urgently had to stop recording. My dog was wagging his tail in his sleep, which was adorable. I had to send a video to my husband, but anyways, getting back into this, this is like an enemies to lovers romantasy, I believe. So this one I think came out last year, and I've had it on my TBR ever since, so another one that's very long overdue. All right, moving right along to thrillers. Here's where we have a few books that are not from that HarperCollins TBR. The first one is Nowhere. I have a bookish podcast that I do, and our episode in March is on this book. I read this back in the fall time and absolutely loved it. It's a debut thriller, and it is so creepy and eerie, and so we're doing an episode on this. I of course have to reread it to refresh my memory and to go through and think of our discussion questions and everything. So this is really good so far. I've already started my reread. And then the next one is Coram House, which is a book I carried over from February. This is another debut thriller, but this one's not out yet. It comes out mid-April, and this one's super haunting and eerie and atmospheric. It's set in an orphanage that had really horrible things happen in the past, and a writer is trying to figure out what happened and write a book about it. It's very good. Then we have an Agatha Christie book, but not actually written by her. This is set in her universe that she created. This is a set of Marple mysteries, so there's 12 brand new mysteries written by authors that you probably have already heard of, so authors like Leigh Bardugo, Alyssa Cole, Lucy Foley, Ruth Ware. I love all these thriller authors, so I'm excited to read their little short stories. Then we have Karen Slaughter's newest book from last year. This is called This Is Why We Lied. I love this author. She writes incredibly gruesome and detailed thrillers, so don't read them unless you're okay with that very graphic detail in your books. But if you're okay with that, then I highly recommend her books. They're always spectacular. I've only read 3 so far, and all 3 have been 5 stars, so she's quickly become one of my favorite thriller authors of all time. Next up we have Northwoods. I'm doing a buddy read of this one with my friend. So this one is another one that's not part of the HarperCollins TBR, but we were carrying this one over from February, and of course have to continue the buddy read. All right, going back to the HarperCollins TBR, we have The Midnight Feast by Lucy Foley. I started this book last year, and then my Libby hold ran out, and I didn't realize it was running out, so I accidentally DNF'd this one, but I'll be finishing this one up this month finally. Then we have The Cabin at the End of the World, which I think I'm actually the last person in the world to read, but excited to read it. And then we have this arc of Her Many Faces. This one comes out in July, and it has a very intriguing premise where it's this woman who's on trial for murder, and everybody who's witnesses for her are all men from her past. So you're seeing her life in a bunch of different point point of views from various people who all have different opinions on her. It sounds very interesting. All right, on to the next stack of thrillers. If I didn't already mention, I certainly won't read through every single one of these books this month. I had way too much fun picking out this TBR, and I couldn't narrow it down, so I think there's like 43 books on this list. I'll probably realistically read between like 25 and 30. But the next one is The Woman in the Window. I watched this TV show and really enjoyed it, but because of that I haven't picked up the book because I already know like the twists in it, but I feel like I still need to read it. I should have probably read this before I watched the TV show in the first place. Then we have a couple more Karen Slaughter books. We have The Last Widow as well as The Kept Woman. I think these are both part of series. I think this one's from her World Trent series and this one's from an entirely different series, but I could be wrong. We have one other Lucy Foley book. We have The Paris Apartment. This is one that I put off for a while because I have heard very mixed things about this one, so I just need to dive in and form my own thoughts on it, though I've just been very hesitant. And we have 3 books by this author, Peter Swanson. I couldn't narrow down which one I want to read, so we'll see if I read more than one, but my options are going to be 9 Lives, A Talent for Murder, and Before She Knew Him. Then we have 2 books from Allison Galen. We have The Collective, which was an older book that was selected by Book of the Month, and then her newest book that just came out in January called We Are Watching. They both sound really good, and I've heard really good things about this author. And then I think lastly for our thrillers is going to be The Unraveling of Cassidy Holmes, and I'm not positive if this is a thriller. I'm just lumped it in here because I don't know what genre this is, but picked this one up just because it's been sitting on my shelf for a while, and this one is HarperCollins. All right, lastly, before we do my big stack of romance, we have a historical fiction. This one is called Beyond the Point. And then I think every single other book on this list is a romance. The first one is a Tessa Bailey book. I read the first book in this series, Fangirl Down, and thought it was so good, so I'm going to read The Au Pair Affair this month. We have this billionaire romance called The Charmer. This one is an arc. It comes out in May, but I've heard really good things about this series, and I didn't think I'd be a billionaire romance girly, but the Dreamland Billionaire series completely changed my mind, so I need to like branch out and read some other books in that category. Another arc we have is Crash Landing, which looks so cute. It's a second chance romance about these 2 exes who are in a plane crash and like basically stranded on a remote desert island, and of course have to spend a bunch of time together, so forced proximity, and they're gonna have like second chance at love. Then we have You Should Be So Lucky, which is a queer baseball romance. It looks so cute, and I've heard amazing things about this. I for some reason have read 0 Sally Thorne books, which is probably a crime, but I'm gonna start with this one because it has little turtles on the cover and I'm obsessed. So this one's called Second First Impressions. Then we have another arc. This one comes out this month, actually, I think towards the end of the month. It's called Somewhere in the City, and this is Alex Astor's debut adult romance book. She wrote a YA fantasy series that was really popular, but this one's gonna come out in this gorgeous edition with sprayed edges. I'm absolutely obsessed. Then we have this one called Between Friends and Lovers. I've had this on my TBR for just far too long. I got this as an arc last year, and I've been meaning to read this pretty much every month, so if this doesn't happen this month, somebody needs to yell at me. Next up, we have If Only I Could Tell You, which is one that I know absolutely nothing about. I never see anyone talking about this book, but it was a Book of the Month book, and it's been sitting on my shelf for forever. We have Love in Color, as well as Get a Life, Chloe Brown, which this one was on my February TBR and I didn't get to it, so I'm just pushing it over till March, and it works perfectly because it is a Harper book. Then this one is not a Harper book, but it's called You and I Rewritten, and the author of this, Chip, is somebody I met at Shelves in the City last year in New York, and he was absolutely amazing, so I definitely want to bring this to get him to sign it this time around, so I'm going to read it this month and then hopefully get it signed. He has another book coming out this year as well that I am really excited to read, but that one's not out yet, so I only have this one so far. Next up, we have another billionaire romance book. This one's both Crave and Torn by Monica Murphy. I'm not sure if I'll read both of these books or just one. This is 2 books just bound in one published book, so I might just read one or the other, I'm not sure, but I think there's 4 books in this series. Certainly won't be reading the whole series this month. The next one we have is Secretly Yours, which is a Tessa Bailey book I've heard such negative things about, such mixed reviews about, and I'm very nervous because I love Tessa Bailey, but I don't know. I have a feeling this one might not be my favorite, but I'm gonna go in with an open mind and we'll see what happens. The next 2 are both not Harper books either, but it's an author that I'm gonna meet, so I have to read them. We have First Time Caller by B.K. Borison and then Mixed Signals by B.K. Borison, and this is book 3 in the Love Light Farm series. I haven't read book 3 or 4, but I don't own book 4 yet, so I probably will buy it before I meet her because I, of course, will want to get it signed. But I've loved this series so far. The first 2 books were both in the 4 to 5 star range. So much fun. And then I've heard some people say this is her best book yet, so very highly anticipating this one and excited to read this too. Oh, I just found one last book that didn't make it into the pile. I don't know what genre this is other than YA. I want to say it's a YA romance book, but this one's called They Both Die at the End, and I've heard really good things about this. It's just a book that I've had sitting on my shelf for way too long that I, again, just need to pick up and read. So hopefully I'll end up liking this one. And I think that's all of them. Obviously, again, a way too lofty TBR, but we'll see what I read through, and the rest will probably just carry over to my TBR in April. But I'm excited. I've never been more excited for a monthly TBR because all of these books are themed to the trip I'm going on, and that trip is like really creeping up on me way quicker than I thought it would, but in a good way. I'm so excited for it. So we'll see how many I get through. I'll of course update everybody at the end of the month with my monthly reading recap, and thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.